The purpose of this afternoon session is to discuss how do we develop analytical writing from the work that we do in the field, the practice that we do in the field. And I am going to take examples of some of the people who have done the homework where this conversation started, and then we will discuss some general principles, steps, procedures, etc. Let me ask you, what is the weather like in Delhi these days? Pleasant.
I find it very humid.
Very humid.
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. कैसा लग रहा है मौसम दिल्ली का? We have three answers. Pleasant, as opposed to unpleasant. Now, pleasant and unpleasant, what does it come to, what does it characterize in your head? You know, उनका pleasant, तो आपके दिमाग में क्या है? Soothing. Comfortable. क्या चीज comfortable है?
We are sweating less.
हैं?
We are sweating less.
Sweating less.
Heat.
क्या चीज soothing है?
The air, breezy.
So, either air or temperature or the breeze or the sunshine. But it is not taste, smell. So what does it mean? When we say how is the weather in Delhi today, intuitively in our head, we compare. खोपड़ी के अंदर comparison. Today, है ना? Today बोला compare to yesterday, last week, last month, last year, last century, whatever. So comparison happens. Comparison is communicated through words like pleasant. ठीक है ना? But underlying the pleasant is either temperature or pollution level or breeze or sunshine, but it is not flavor, taste, density of traffic. So when we go to the field and ask somebody, how is the weather today? And they say pleasant. And you note down diligently pleasant. You think this is data. Now you have to figure out pleasant in what way. ठीक है ना? How are you feeling today? Good, tense, bored, anxious, tired, hungry. For hungry there is no smiling, isn't it? For many others there are.
It is not. There is a drooling.
I thought that is because overeating. But it is important, therefore, why I am giving you these examples is that we ask a question and we take answer and say, we've got data. But that answer has many meanings, some relevant, mostly irrelevant. So this is, now in field learning from practice, analysis from practice will mean we do three kinds of things when we do practice in Priya type of context, in our kind of work. एक तो of course the standard practice, we ask questions. Some people call it oh, you're doing research? What are you doing? No, I'm asking questions. If you don't ask questions, can you do research without asking questions?
Yes.
How?
Observation.
Very simple. Observing. In fact, you collect lot more data by observing than by asking questions. In the field context. We are not talking about lab, chemistry lab, or social reality. Go and talk to somebody and says, how are you today, sir? I have come to interview. Oh, I am very well. In between his mobile rings. I told you not to call me again and again. Yes, I am very well. So what do you consider as data? What I said in response to your question, or what you observed while I was behaving in a stupid fashion. So observing. Any other way? In the field, while doing our practice. Any other way we collect data? By doing whatever we are doing planning, we are doing organizing, we are doing painting, we are doing writing a poem together, we are doing cleaning of the office or house, waiting for bus, catch bus. When we are doing, that activity generates data. In observing, we are not doing any activity here. We observe through all senses, smell, see, hear, touch, but doing also. So, formally, directly, intentionally asking questions is only one form of research. By observing and by doing, we gather information. And if we gather that information, we can use it to analyze that situation, to analyze that entity, to analyze that actor. ये बात समझ में आई आपके? Is it clear to you so far?
Secondary data भी आ सकता है, collection of secondary data.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. Collection of secondary data is also asking questions. You ask questions of documents. जैसे Priya has a library and you want to collect some data on panchayats. So you will ask the question. That is where your primary and secondary business comes. So, but you ask the question. You just don't go inside the library and start pulling out books and reading whatever you can lay your hand on. You ask a question. And your question guides you to the source of that information, which may be a book, it may be a journal, it may be a film. So, when we are doing analytical writing from our practice, I would encourage all of you to add these types of sources while you are focusing on this. है ना? क्योंकि we are talking about practice. Our practice is to work towards improvements, some change, some positive change. That is our practice. है ना? उस जगह पे, उस परिवार के लिए, उन लोगों के लिए, उन समुदाय के लिए, उस इंस्टीट्यूशन के लिए, उस कम्युनिटी के लिए कुछ पॉजिटिव चेंज के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. That is our practice. And therefore, research helps us to strengthen our practice, support our practice, improve our practice. We all have been trained properly. Generally, most of us have some sort of a master's degree, some of us may have 2, 3, 4. We are trained how to record this part. We know if we ask question, we must note down the answer either in an instrument called questionnaire, or note down in our bag, or do some sort of audio recording, video recording, photography, videography. But we are not necessarily equipped or trained to do these two things. Because we, first of all, generally don't think this is contributing to my understanding of research. So, a critical part of any analysis is having compilation of your data. ठीक है ना? तो how do we compile? अच्छा, इसमें तो all of you know, टेबल बना दिया, नंबर काउंट किए, 27% said yes, 73 said no, several did not answer, some ran away while answering, etc., etc. You can do all this. We note down the quotes, stories, anecdotes. How do we compile our observations? And how do we compile data from our act of doing something? You organized some sort of a event, you go there and you say, let us do cooking together. Act of cooking. Last Friday we had participatory lunch. Did you collect data? Did you collect data about your team members? About those who were in your team but not doing work? Lots of data. Those who pretended they were doing work but didn't. Those who volunteered to serve first round and those who volunteered to sit down and eat. in the act of doing cooking. Each one of us who was present there can give very cogent feedback about everybody else who was in that hall. If you want to give, of course. If you're not afraid to give, of course. What I'm trying to point out is that we collect data, we gather data in the very act of doing something. The difficulty is that our focus is on doing, not on recording what we are finding out. In original training of field workers, this used to be called field notes or field diary or field report, something. But the point is that how do we record the data that we are getting, not necessarily generating, but getting in the act of doing. अगर ये रिकॉर्डिंग हम करते हैं तो none of you will ever have to sweat or worry about writing case studies. Those who shiver, sweat, have heart attacks in writing case studies are those who forget to record while doing. So please develop a habit of recording what you are learning. Each of you who has gone to the field and done work, whether in Priya or anywhere else in your life, you have accompanied stories while doing. But when somebody says, write a story, oh my God, my computer doesn't work. What am I? Similarly, observing requires compilation. Some of you, this morning I got I don't know, all of you must have got my random reflection. Some of you read like this. Recording doesn't have to be field notes by hand. I'm now learning to record bullet points on my mobile. Learning. Because if you record, then on 1st of every month for last 14, 15 years, you will get a random reflection from me. And Jane Kobe, who was here in February, some of you know, she wrote back, you must have gone with children to Belgium and Netherlands last month, as I gather from your random reflections. It's recording. It is not experience. It is not doing. It is recording. So please develop habit of recording. It is as simple a habit as brushing your teeth. No habit is any more difficult than that, but it is a habit. If you have a habit of brushing your teeth, you can develop a habit of recording. In a language, in a manner, in a place which is convenient to you. So when you sit down to compile, you have your records. Otherwise, and nowadays you can use visuals, you can use photographs. You know. So is this clear so far? Now this session started from my engaging 4 people in Priya around their research work. Yashvi and Pratim doing work on domestic workers, and Shashi and Nilanjana doing work on women sanitation workers. So we had a couple of rounds of discussion, and the discussion started from why do we want to analyze it? Why do we want to analyze data? So I want to hear from you. Why should we analyze data? have a questionnaire which you have asked, what is your age? To 50 people. And you get 50 responses. Only this question, what is your age? How do we analyze it? Should we analyze it? So for example, you will say, in this group, average age is 37 years. Then somebody in Priya would say, was there any woman in that group? Oh, I forgot to note down. There were 15 women, 35 men. That's description. That's still not analysis. What will analysis do? Average age of women was 32, average age of men was 42. This group has younger women and older men. At a very simple level, this is your analysis. Very simple level. Only one question has been asked. What is your age? But noting down 50 numbers of age is not analysis. So the purpose of analysis so first we did ask questions, observe, do. Then we compile that, and then now we are doing analysis. The purpose of analysis is multifold. Enlightenment. Truth. That truth, that reality. You understand. My understanding is improved. Any other purpose? Go ahead. Rajana, go ahead.
Patterns and anomalies.
Look at patterns. Conclusions. Findings. We use several words like that. But we are seeking an explanation of why it is so. We are seeking an explanation of why it is so. What were you saying, Aditi? What were you?
So I was saying conclusions, and then third was these will help us to develop a solution also to the problem that originally we started with.
Propose, recommend. All of you must have written a research report where in the end you say recommendations. Not that you care about what happens to those recommendations, but you write recommendations. Propose, recommendations, solutions, etc.
What about contradictions?
Huh?
What about contradictions?
That will be part of this. Part of your contradictions, similarities, dissimilarities, whatever.
So wouldn't that be in seeking the truth for a part?
Huh?
So if there is a notion which has been proposed by an ex-author, and through your analysis you're trying to debunk that theory, so wouldn't that be in the seeking the truth?
Yeah, basically you take your data, analyze it, and you say, I have understood. After that, then you communicate your understanding. Some people communicate by writing books, research papers in periodicals. You stop at understanding. You draw conclusions which are deeper explanations of reality. Why it is so? What is underlying this data, this pattern? Why is this a pattern? Why is there a contradiction? Why women are younger in that group and men are older? You develop an explanatory, some sort of an explanation. And then you propose solutions, you propose to others or you propose to yourself, you act on those recommendations. Or you communicate it to whoever is relevant. Now, I want to show you 4 stories that I got, 4 analyses that I got. And I will show you on this thing. I'm going to ask these 4 people, Rashmi, Pratev, Nilanjana and Shashi, not to feel that they are on display. Only their analysis is on display. Right? And we want to learn. Not only that 4 of you will be able to improve whatever you have done, but others will learn how they can do it better. Okay? So this is a document that Nilanjana has prepared. It is based on the studies, interactions, observations, everything that they did with women sanitation workers in 2 cities, Ajmer and Jhansi. Now, the first question is, who are these women sanitation workers? Then a set of responses are compiled there. No? On the right hand side you see a daily schedule of a woman sanitation worker. What time she gets up, what she do, very detailed, interesting presentation. In between, you see in these quotes, there are some actual statements that 1 or 2 of them made. This is a good way of capturing the emotion. Second question, how does the job affect being a woman? What are their working lives like? How enabling are the working conditions? Comparison Jhansi, Ajmer provided. What are the social economic side effects of their work to the Valmiki community? What are the health effects of their occupation? Have existing laws, policies improved the sanitation work related? Okay. Under each of these questions, there are 4, 5, 6 bullet points. Some numbers, some quotes, some percentages. Right? This is first, Nilanjana's. Now I will show you Muzaffarpur. This is from Shashi. Is the size, can you read the question at least?
Yes.
Huh? Sanitation work, context explain. Who are the women sanitation workers? Again, profile, numbers given, age group, education level, some quotes in that, caste and religion. Nature of employment. Now you see a statement here. Women sanitation workers have been rendered voiceless. This statement and this way of organizing, compiling the data, employment, caste and religion, choice of profession, is there any difference between the two? This is a difference between compilation of responses under different questions and drawing conclusions. We will come to it in a minute as to how do you draw conclusions. But a large number of times we write our report as compilation of data, not reaching conclusions, which is the next stage of analysis. You cannot do conclusion without compilation. So compilation is a necessary step. And sometimes while doing compilation we start analyzing. We had a discussion with 4 of you, if you remember last time. I would tell you, suggest to all of you, do compilation first. And then say, oh, what does it tell me? Because then you see all your questions compiled, not just one. Because this kind of a conclusion is a result of all other questions, not a single question. How much money you earn? Why do you do this job? Etc. So that's the next step in this. Now, compilation also can be, if you see the two compilations, and those of you who want to play with it, I'll forward you their writings, or you can play with your own writings. All of us do that. The detail in compilation is very important. In Niranjana's report, that daily routine is a very interesting compilation. You need not even ask a question. You may get that by observation if you hang around overnight. But so that, what does it tell you? That will tell you how these women are see this daily routine. A day in the life of women sanitation. Can you read that? Can you see? Yeah? I'm going to ask you all to do something. So if you can't read it, tell me. Title I'm going to hide a little bit. It is a day in the life of a woman sanitation worker in Jhansi. This is the compilation of data. I want each of you to write a conclusion on your pad. By looking at this compilation, tell me your conclusion. Or if you don't want to write a full sentence, give me a couple of words that come to you by reading this daily routine of women sanitation. Can you see it? Aditi? 1 word, 2 word. Everybody has to write, huh? This is your practice of analysis. What does it tell us? Yes, Costa.
The woman sanitation worker here in question is burdened not only with her occupation but also care burden and housework.
Double burden of woman sanitation. She has used that phrase later on. Any other? No, not you.
They are making degrees and making quilts also, so they do additional work to, apart from the jobs that they are doing to supplement the household income.
What does it tell you?
That the burden of household food security or even the burden of children's education probably falls onto them because maybe the men are not contributing enough to the household income.
Patriarchal mindset in the house.
They're getting less than 6 hours of sleep, that means less time for self.
Yeah.
They're not paid enough, and that is why they have to take up other forms of this.
Their primary job is to make serve children and everything, and they are taking up jobs which can be, which can be done apart from doing all these jobs. They are doing, they're going for work from 7 to 10, so that after getting back home, they can serve it. So they are picking up jobs on the basis of the timings and the things which can help, which cannot,
Which will not come in the way of household.
Hardly any time for leisure.
No, sir. So extra long work hours, starting right from 4:35 in the morning till 11. I think the most important in all of this is labor of love and invisible labor.
Unpaid labor.
Unpaid labor.
Debashish.
स्वच्छता और परिवार के प्रहरी, अगर एक वर्ड
स्वच्छता और परिवार के प्रहरी. प्रहरी would mean English में क्या correct word होगा? Soldier of crusader of sanitation and cleanliness and family. Machine came to my mind. Heartless, mindless.
in a sense, this could be the life of any lower middle class working woman in India.
Sure.
They will not work in shifts, either like 2 shifts a day, but if they go to work in an office, 10 to 5,
Okay.
they all have such large numbers because they do everything.
I'd like to add that the biggest thing that this study in general showed me was that when you analyze the daily logs as well as the findings, every single activity is done for somebody else. The only activity that is indulged for the self is going to the bathroom at 4:30 in the morning. That's it.
See, apart from that, you might point out that 7 to 9 they rest or chat. That is the only other time.
Okay. So we are not developing conclusions on this or analysis. That is Niranjana's job and Shashi's job. They will labor on this. Compilation requires the next step of analysis. And analysis requires lens. With what lens you will analyze? We'll come to that. What is that lens? What is that lens that we need to clean and maintain for theorizing, for reaching that level of analysis? Okay, so now let's go to the next case study, which was domestic workers that okay, this is the study findings of domestic maids in South Delhi. Main findings of the research. Look at this. Can you read it? Can you see it?
Yes.
Roughly?
Yes.
Yeah? Or you need more?
No, it's fine.
Main findings of the research. He has compiled the main findings and then some relevance to policy. And now let me see where. This is the summarization of findings from yesterday. Research findings. Migration, type of work, various types of maids, work and wages, leave, facilities, public toilets, social security, job insecurity, sexual harassment by security guards, and then policy. Now, look at these two on maids. Do you see any difference between the two? We'll ask them later, others first. In the way they organize their findings. They both called it research findings. This is one way. Main finding of the research, and there it was research findings. Did you see any difference? The main thing to remember is compilation is not analytical writing. Don't throw tables. Tables say nothing. Those who don't know how to do analysis throw tables or quotations. They are a necessary foundational step. They are not analysis. And when we are doing combination of asking questions, observation and doing multiple ways of gathering data, then even more important that you compile it first and then you ask, what does it tell? What does it tell me about domestic maids as workers, domestic maids as women workers, domestic maids as women? Same thing. Sanitation workers, what does it tell me about sanitation workers? About women sanitation workers. About sanitation workers as women. And for each of these, you could draw a conclusion. Sanitation workers. By and large, hazardous work. I'm not using women sanitation workers, hazardous work, insecure employment, underpayment, disrespect, lack of dignity, lower caste, whatever. Exploitation by middlemen, contractors, whatever. Then women sanitation. What adds to it. That's where the double burden, the triple burden comes in. Because the woman may also have insecure employment, hazardous work, lack of respect, exploitation by middlemen. But the woman is to look after and care in the family, and man is smoking or drinking or gambling somewhere outside, or even contesting elections, as the case may be. So, it is important to separate the lens by which we analyze. And in the case of domestic work, you have different types as you analyze. Actually, those who live out, they work full time, they live out. Those who are part-timers work in multiple households. Those who live in. It is less a question of, in the case of domestic work, or maids, domestic maids, that's a question of man or woman. It is a question of types of contracts or relationships. And you will find differences arising out of that. So you have to pick from your study what is the variable around which you want to emphasize. You don't want a situation where, so if I was writing women sanitation workers findings, I start by saying, this is the nature of sanitation worker. Insecure contract, lower caste, exploitation of middlemen, lack of respect, hazardous work. However, 75% of all sanitation workers are women. When you are a woman sanitation worker, on top of these burdens, you also have A, B, and C. And then, at the end of it, I will paste Shashi's conclusion. Women sanitation workers have been rendered voiceless. They have been rendered voiceless by the nature of their occupation, the nature of the structure of that occupation, the nature of labor relations in that occupation, and the fact that they are women, and the nature of obligations and burdens and constraints that women face. In reality, all of this happens parallelly, not sequentially. Okay. In reality, you collect data in all the three different modes, whether you are aware or not, whether you compile them or not, you collect. But it is always good to separate. Data you collect from asking questions, useful to separate from observation. And I showed you how. You asked me, how am I feeling? I said, great. And I shouted somebody on the mic. You observe. And likewise for doing. So, it is happening simultaneously. Many a times, parallelly. But let us try and record them separately, compile them separately. Likewise, compilation and analysis. So step 1, step 2, step 3. Obviously, it is a cycle. Particularly for those of us who are involved in practice. Because of what I wrote here. Because you understand the reality and then you immediately act on it also. You get the women to get organized. So that women sanitation workers can get their due, gain some respect. action follows in a very integrated fashion in our kind of approach of work. But it's good to separate. This was the conclusion and this is the action. Because sometimes you reach a conclusion and you say, the best action is to keep quiet right now. That's also action, deliberate, chosen, intentional, but not visible. Maybe send the report to publish in an international journal than a domestic newspaper. That's your choice, that's a decision. It doesn't mean finding has not been reached. You have reached conclusion. The purpose of research is to deepen our understanding of that reality. If you don't read under the line, if you don't combine all sorts of data, you will never understand. Your dilemma is, how do I disseminate it?
Yeah.
It's not understanding. The primary purpose is understanding, deepening understanding. The primary purpose is not writing a paper. We are confused. You can deepen an understanding and act on it without writing a paper. Then when you say, I am writing a paper, should I take a permission? Should I give their name? Should I give their photograph? Those are different questions. Because you are putting it out in public domain. But I have come here to understand your job. My question to you, are you satisfied with your job? And in between you are biting your nail, you have thrown all the paper on the side and you keep saying, oh, it's a beautiful place to work. If I was interviewing you, I would say, and you mean to say all this is beautiful? I would confront you with that data. But then I am taking the next step of probing you further. Because you were being politically correct with me and you were giving socially desirable answers. There's a difference between that. I've noted down all these big words in a minute, I'll come back to it. Other questions? Comments? How do we get the lens? Without the lens, no practice. Without the lens, no question. No answering question. No research. Anybody who tells you that I am coming here to objectively study the phenomena and report about it, you should know that they are fooling. Nobody comes objective. Objectivity is a facade. The best way to deal with objectivity and ups is to say who you are, why are you doing this research, how will you benefit from this research, and what will happen to me who is giving you answers to the question. This is the minimum transparency. Don't believe anybody who comes and says, I am doing this all for you. So everybody has a lens. We call them theory. Have you heard of Sigmund Freud?
Yes.
Anybody? Freud?
Yeah.
Psychoanalysis? Have you heard of Sigmund Freud? All of you? In Europe, North America also? Sigmund Freud. Freud could study individuals. That was the theory. Id, ego, superego, various defense mechanisms and all that. Those of you who want psychoanalysis, I'll take you on my couch separately. And have you heard of Mr. Karl Marx, whose some 100th year was celebrated recently? 150th year, in fact. And what did Marx theory was? About classes. Theory of Marx could explain the consequence of Freud, but not himself. Marx needed Freud to explain him. You get my point? This is it. This is the lens. You are structuralist, you are functionalist. So, in Priya's theory of change, let me ask those of you who have been around for some time, not those who have walked in today. What are each theory has, what does the theory have? What are the, I'm not asking you Priya's theory of change, because that may be too deep an examination this afternoon. What are 2-3 concepts that we throw around or propound orally or in our writings in Priya? Mention a few.
Community-based research.
Participation.
It's a wretched participation. Correct. Big word. Where did it go? Participation. Anything else?
Gender.
Huh?
Gender.
Gender.
Organizational behavior.
Governance.
People
It's
centered.
internalizing the practice.
Empowerment.
Internalizing practice is not a concept. No, I'm trying to, it can be very generic. I'm trying to see what, if you did Google search of Priya's documents or Rajesh Tandon's vocabulary, what are the words which will come repeatedly? That's what. Somebody here use some word with G.
Good governance.
God.
Democracy.
Community. Knowledge.
So these concepts in the way we define them, mark my word, these concepts in the way we define them, when interconnected, becomes theory of Priya. These concepts, as we define them, when interconnected or interlinked, become theory of change or theory of Priya. And that is the lens we all should be using in all our practice and in all our research. To you.
Community.
Inclusion.
Inclusion.
Engagement, not involvement.
Engagement. Not involvement. Okay. What else?
Equal voices.
Equal voices.
As in being heard equally, irrespective of who.
Voices.
Stakeholders.
Feeling of ownership.
Ownership.
Valuing everybody's knowledge.
Valuing everybody's knowledge. Oh God. There is a lot that people know. And there is a lot that we don't know. Participation at the simplest level means getting information. The next level means consultation. And a higher level means engagement. And higher level means decision. Participation can be receiving information. Participation could also be taking decisions. Which of these would result in empowerment?
Both.
Have you heard how participation is used for co-option? I design, you participate. Participation in Priya's context has a specific meaning. Ability to understand one's rights and responsibilities and to access them. Particular meaning. Mere information does not allow participation. Information is necessary, but not sufficient. Consultation is the next step, but not sufficient. Unless I am involved in taking decision about my own, none of this ownership or inclusion or all this. Inclusion would mean I am getting included in your plan. Millions of Indians are getting included right now. Sense of belonging does not mean sense of control. Co-option happens on emotional grounds, on intellectual grounds, and on material grounds. Power flows emotionally, intellectually, and materially. I am more powerful if I can emotively make you do what I would like our parents occasionally do, or our lover boys or girls do. And materially, I have more resources than you. I have more control over resources than you. Materially. Intellectually, I sound superior in knowledge. All of us are intellectual arrogance running around in rural areas because we are qualified. So, participation has a specific connotation in our context. Not participation for co-option, but participation for what Freire called conscientization, awareness of rights and responsibilities, and an ability to claim. You know, in some writings you will see agency. You have the agency to act. So participation has a specific meaning. And not just individual participation, but collective participation. Why? Because of this word, somebody has used community here. But collective participation brings collective strength, collective power. Individual participation limits our ability to shape our future. And that is why we say in Priya's theory of change, collectivization of the hitherto excluded and marginalized. Why? Because individually they cannot change. Why? Because the structure of marginalization and exclusion requires power to change that structure. And power comes in a collective. Individual voice is not enough. Collective voice. So when we look at the concept of participation, we are not satisfied just because the middleman of women sanitation workers asks her, would you like to take leave today because your child is sick? That's not participation. So, without changing the structure of authority and power, participation is essentially co-option. And structure of power and authority can only change if there is collectivization of the hitherto excluded and marginalized. So this is the concept of participation. And an important element of that is knowledge. Yes, people's knowledge is an element of that participation. Yes, in Priya's concept. So when we use our lens, this is one of those. This is a lens. This is one of these lenses. This is a concept of participation as we define it. Now let us take the case of voice. That participation, we say in our knowledge, voice, democracy. We assume or proclaim that voice is important for democracy. Must be speaking out, to be able to share your views, participate by sharing your views. So what is this voice in Priya's definition? What is this voice? Not just individual, but also collective. We are not only championing individual leaders, we are organizing SICs from which leadership emerges. So voice has a collective connotation as well. The individual is collective. Because individuals may not be able to speak out. What else? What else do we have in voice? We, in our mind, when we put this individual and collective, we in our mind sometimes think voice is speaking against something. Speaking against injustice, speaking against deprivation, speaking against exploitation. The voice is speaking against and for both. Not what is wrong, but also what is good is also voice. Look at this experiment. This is good. It should be done. But many a times, voice becomes only seen as something which it's like give each other a feedback. Feedback somehow means tell them what they don't know. Start by saying what they know. Nobody says feedback should only point out your deficiencies. Point out your strengths too. So when we think of voice, we somehow think अंग्रेज देश छोड़ो टाइप, नहीं भाई आओ भी ऐसा क्या है, छोड़ो नहीं, दोनों करें. So for and against. Speaking at where? Speaking where? At venues, platforms, structures that are available. Voice in Gram Sabha. voice in village health committee, voice in social justice committee. There is a structure. You are a member of a structure. You have a responsibility to voice. Use that structure to voice. Use your voice in that structure, in that platform. So Gram Sabha, committees, SIC, there is no point in voicing privately after the meeting is over. So voice has a particular specific meaning. And so it's not a concept in general, it's the concept as we define it. Governance. What does governance mean? In Priya?
Decentralized. Decentralized.
Decentralized governance. Very good. What else?
So transparent and accountable.
Transparent and accountable governance. Very good. What is governance? Transparent and accountable shirt, for example. But what is shirt? What is governance?
Function, something that leads the functioning of something, a system.
Okay. Practically, what is governance? Constitution. Laws. Policies. Procedures.
Responsibility.
Then institutions. So transparency and accountability in the functioning of institutions. And closer to the problem decision is made, better it's likely. That's the principle of decentralized decision. So there are institutions, police, courts, village health committee, municipality, college. So institution. So their transparency, their accountability, are they functioning as per their mandate? Do they have necessary resources and capacity? So, in our theory of the three concepts of participation, voice, and governance imply that we are, as I began to write theory of change, we are, as we say happily, we work on both the demand and the supply side. Of these are the excluded citizens and these are the governance institutions. So in our theory of change, working here to make them aware, conscious, agency, voice, and working here so that when the voice is spoken, Somebody hears them and acts on the basis of that. Now, of course, we also work with a number of other people to either support this or support that. So sometimes when government institutions don't listen to us, we go to the media. But those are additional elements. So when we do research on domestic maids or women sanitation workers, getting back to our original, these are the concepts that we carry. Participation of the excluded. The first question we have to ask is, what is the structure, causality of exclusion that is happening? And both your reports show a number of them. Insecure employment, variety of vulnerabilities that are there, create the structure of exclusion. And we want their voice to be then used to influence governance institutions. So that what is their right, what is their due, what is their claim, would be responded to, provided for. So these concepts create the theory, and we all carry that in our head. And this helps us to do both practice and research, because we can take this theory to Banswara or to Muzaffarpur. Our practice will require some understanding of local reality. It cannot be that we have a theory without understanding local reality, we can jump into practice. So in a way, our practice is dependent on doing some local research on who is excluded, why are they excluded, what can we do to get them conscientized, and how can they get. Now, it does not mean that we will be able to do everything that is possible, but these concepts are the ones which shape our practice, and they should also shape our research. Four of you, go back, use today's discussion and write findings, conclusions. Okay? When you write conclusions, I will ask you to show me your compilation of data on the basis of which you concluded. You will show me three kinds of data: numbers, stories, and visuals. Everything is data. So when your question of when I should use numbers and when I should use stories and when I should use anecdotes, you should use everything. Only then I will be convinced of your conclusion. So first I will read your conclusion. I don't want to read your compilation. Then I will say, show me how you reach this conclusion. And you will need to show me your compilation of data of all forms: qualitative, quantitative, stories, visuals. Whether you gather by asking question or by doing the work together.
Personal observations?
Observation. Observation is never impersonal. If I observe, it's my observation, no? You observe your observation. My lens, your lens. Similar lens, similar observation. Blog, journal article and one in your non-English mother tongue. There must be sanitation workers in Bengali speaking part of the world. It has been registered as the second largest language in India after Hindi. 97 million people are Bengali speaking. 470 million or 500 million are Hindi speaking. They are all club Bhojpuri and Haryanvi as Hindi speaking there. But what to do?